Would I rather be taller or shorter? How did I become ordained? And what is my favorite hat? Well, I talk about all that and more on this episode of the Toddcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Toddcast. As always, I'm your host, Todd McManus. And if you didn't know, this is episode 190, which means in 10 weeks will be the 200th episode spectacular. So don't forget that, in 10 weeks, the 200th episode spectacular. But I wanted to just go ahead and dive into this episode. This is going to be going back to an older episode that I've tried to do. Well, I've not tried to do, I've actually done it. But we're going to be doing just a good old-fashioned Q&A episode on this episode. So we can just go ahead and dive into that. The first question I have, I'm getting all jumbled up today. The first question I have is, what field in college did you graduate in? And what other field would you have wanted to go in? Well, if you don't know, I graduated in marketing. I have a degree in marketing, and that is what I got my degree in. And it's in the business field, of course. But originally, when I first started to go to college in the fall semester of 2018, I was majoring in CIS, which is Computer Information Systems. And I thought it was cool. You know, I guess you could say I'm somewhat good at computers and electronics and technology in general. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and just go into that because I think that that's a good thing that I would like to try. And, you know, I just wanted to try it and see if it was worth it. And stayed with it for a little while. And then I changed majors, I guess you could say twice, but I changed it the first time it was either the spring or the fall. It was in the spring, towards the end of the spring of the 2019 semester. I was like, you know what, I'm going to change it to marketing. So I finished all the classes that I had in that semester. I swapped it over to marketing. And then whenever COVID was happening, which I don't even think I swapped it at that point, but in the spring semester of 2020, I looked at the classes and I was thinking, I was like, can I go like all online? Is there like any requirements or anything that's going to prohibit me from going completely, fully, 100% online classes? And this was before COVID even like actually started, like before the pandemic and before the lockdowns and all that kind of stuff. And I was thinking, you know, I want to just do online classes because I do better on the online classes, because there's classes in college that you have to go to the in-person class, but all the work is online. So they don't even give you in-person like sheets of homework or anything like that. You just do all the work online already. So I was like, well, why can't I just do that by itself without actually having to go to class? So I changed to online. I guess you could say I changed my major again because it was the same major, but I went from marketing to marketing online, or e-marketing is what they call it because it's electronic, you know. And I swapped it in the spring semester, at like the beginning of the spring semester in 2020. And then the lockdowns happened. So whenever the first full semester, which was the fall semester of 2020 happened, which was the first full semester during COVID, I was already considered as an online student. So I was already prepared, you know, for being online and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, I still had to like register for classes, still had to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning or whatever it was, which sucks. And I still, to this day, don't understand. I'm not even in college anymore. I graduated. I got my bachelor's degree and I'm out of there, you know. I'm technically, I am an alumni, but I don't even know if I'm part of the alumni association or something like that, which is an interesting thing in itself. But with the registering, back to that, you know, registering for classes, that sucked. And I didn't understand it. I didn't understand why that's the way it was or who designed it that way. Of like, you got to wake up at 6 a.m. Like, why was it that early? Because nothing else happens at that time? Like, some people are waking up or already awake at that point. But why? Why make all these 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds or older wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning to register for a class that they're not even going to be in for the next 4 to 5 months? So that's what, or less, if you're going from winter to spring. I just never understood, because it didn't make any sense to me, and it was just weird and interesting, and I fully didn't understand it. But originally being in CIS, and I swapped it from that to marketing because I didn't want to do any of the programming classes, is what I did not want to do, which if you do programming, that's cool, and it's interesting to me, and I'm still kind of interested in it, but it's something that, I don't think I could actually do. But yeah, I took two classes over the summer last year in 2022, and then I graduated in the end of July going into the beginning, the very 1st of August. I think August the 1st was my official graduation date. They mailed my diploma, my piece of paper to me. And then I actually did walk across the stage in December of 2022 was when I did that. So yeah, but I did graduate. I did go to college, and in high school it was something that I thought that I wasn't going to be able to do. And I didn't fully know what I wanted to do, even in high school, which I feel like is the common thing for most high schoolers when they graduate. They don't even know what degree they want to get. They don't know what field they want to go into. They don't even know what they want to do with their life, And what you think you may want to do when you're 18 is probably going to change by the time you're 21, because a lot of stuff happens in those 3 to 4 years that you may spend in college. But if I was to change anything, I wish I would have done, this isn't part of the question, but I'm just thinking, if I was to change anything back in the day, I wish I would have done more dual enrollment classes in high school. That way my college experience would have been shorter. But yeah, college it's a beast in itself. It's interesting, it's weird, and you just got to go with it, But I had a decent college experience. I spent more time being an online student than I actually was an in-person student, which is interesting to think about in the long run. That I started in August 2018. We went to lockdown in March 2020, and then I graduated officially on August the 1st, 2022. And then here we are. I got a job in September of 2022, so I spent a month without college and a job, and I got a job in September, and I stayed with them all the way until March 1st of this year, 2023, and then I got another job after that on March the 3rd, 2 days later. So March the 2nd, I was unemployed for one whole day. I got another job on March the 3rd, and I'm still with them as of today, and I probably will be with them for a very long time. I can see it happening unless something happens, but as of right now, it's possible that I'm just going to be with this company forever, and I am okay with that. So, but yeah, I definitely think that, changing your major is completely fine. Technically I did it twice, even though I stayed with the same field, but just going from in-person to online is considered a major change. So, but I don't think there's any, at least at my college, it may be at some other colleges, there's not really a requirement or anything that prohibits you from being an online student versus in person. It's just whatever you think is better for you. For me, I was doing better on the online classes than I was in the in-person because I was learning at my own speed and, paying attention in classes. I don't know if I have, ADD or ADHD or something like that, but learning in a class setting is just difficult. Trying to sit there for an hour or more and just listen to somebody talk or watch a video or them write stuff down is super hard and boring. So it's I was having difficulties paying attention in these classes, and that's why I decided, I was you know what, I'm doing better on these online courses and these online tests, whether it was actually I was getting help along the way, actually like looking up for help or anything. But anyway, I was doing better on these online classes, and I just stuck with it throughout the rest. And I was like, you know what, I'm not going to go wear a mask and be in front and be around 100 people over there, because I'm going to be uncomfortable. I'm going to be thinking I'm going to get COVID. I probably would have gotten COVID, honestly, knowing me with all the sickness that I get. But yeah, college is a very interesting thing. I mean, I'm not saying you should or should not go to college. That is fully up to you, but it's interesting in itself. You don't need to go to college to be successful, but as a business and an employer, they're going to want you more, just because the 4-year degree doesn't mean you learned anything in college. The 4-year degree, or however many years of a degree that you spent, whether it's an associate's, bachelor's, or master's, or anything, or even a doctorate, it's basically just saying that, hey, I can be given work, and I can do it and complete it and actually be shown that I did it well. And that's what a degree means, is that you were able to do 4 years worth of work. That's all it is. So, I mean, I learned stuff that I do know now, but like, there's a bunch of stuff, especially in high school, because they teach you a broader spectrum of things. There's stuff I learned in high school that I don't even use today. Like, I still have not used Pythagorean's theorem. And like, I still know that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, but I don't need to use that when I'm marketing things on social media. So yeah. But yeah, so I was originally in CIS, but I swapped to marketing, and that's what I stuck with, and I'm actually doing it as my job. So I'm glad that's a thing, that I'm actually using my degree as a job, because I know some people don't do that. They'll graduate in something and then go work in something completely different, But yeah. So the next question we have is, aren't you ordained? How did that happen? I think I have told the story on here, but I don't know if I have. I got ordained back in November of 2018, and I have performed 2 weddings since then, and I actually have a third coming up next year that I will be officiating, as of now, unless anything changes. But as of now, I will be officiating a wedding at the beginning of next year, unless something changes, In 2018, I had a friend that I graduated high school with, and she was with this guy for a long time, and then they got engaged right out of high school, and that they were going to be getting married I think they ended up getting married in like August of 2019. Yeah, that's when it was. Because me, Jaron, and an unnamed friend were on a trip that summer in 2019 in July for a whole week. That's when we went to Corpus Christi, Texas. And Jaron knows all about that. It was a fun trip. It was really fun. I would go back to Corpus Christi in the future at some point. But I got ordained in November of 2018. I didn't have to take a class. I paid like $50 for the license. And it is official, like it is a real thing, that I technically am an ordained minister in the state of Louisiana. And what they do with this church, I don't even have it on my wall back there, but I can't even tell. I don't even remember who it was with. It was like the Universal Church or something like that. And how it started is that they were, going to get married, and I made the joke. I think it was like we were all having lunch one day at college, and I made the joke saying, I was asking them, I was like, oh, well, who's going to do y'all's wedding, And she was like, oh, I don't know, And I was like, it'd be funny if I did it. That'd be pretty funny and pretty weird, wouldn't it? And she was like, yeah, that would be something. And then I think it was that day, but later in the evening around like 7 or 8 o'clock that night, I was in the living room, and I think I was literally watching the Weather Channel, and I got a call, and it was her, and I was like, hello? And she said that she had talked to her fiance, her soon-to-be husband, and they talked it out, and they were like, we do want you to officiate our wedding. And I was like, you're kidding, right? Like, I didn't believe it at first. But, lo and behold, that's what they wanted. And then I think this was at the end of October, beginning of November of 2018 when that happened. And I was like, well, I guess I got to get ordained then. So I looked up different places. That's how it started. It literally started as me joking about it, and then it became reality. And it's weird how those types of things happen, you know. At that time, I was making a joke about being an ordained minister, and now here we are in 2023, and I've already officiated that and another 2 different weddings at this point now. And I got a third on the way. And so after that, I looked up different places, and I was like, okay, well, I don't want to take a class, but they had already said that their wedding's going to be in August of 2019, and I was thinking, like, okay, if I do need to take a class, I need to go ahead and do it. So I looked up different places, looked up different churches, and I found this one. I think it is called Universal Church, and it's out of Dallas, in Dallas, Texas. And I looked them up, and I wanted to do it to where I could be just ordained for the rest of my life. That way I wouldn't have to worry about it expiring every year and try to renew it. And then if somebody wanted me to do theirs and like on a short notice or anything, like I always considered myself like if they need somebody, I was like they're the backup minister. So like if they needed somebody and their preacher wasn't able to, then I could be able to get up there as long as it's in the state of Louisiana. That's the only thing. If you get married in any other state, as of right now, I don't have legality or legal ability to officiate your wedding that's in any other state or country outside of Louisiana. But I can. It would take me a little bit, but I could be able to get ordained in every state if I wanted to. But what happened is that I paid some money and I got a license, and it's over there. It's literally hanging on my wall in a frame right now. And I took it to the courthouse, because that's what you're supposed to do, is take that paper. You take it to the courthouse, and they'll make like a copy of it, and then you have to fill out this paper, and you fill it out, and then they will send that to the state capitol, and then that's how it becomes legal. And that was in November of 2018 when I did that. And I became a legal ordained minister in the state of Louisiana, which is still interesting and still unbelievable. I mean, it's been almost 5 years since I become an ordained minister. And I still am today. And it does last forever. So until I die, so for the rest of my life, I am able to officiate any wedding in the state of Louisiana. And that's pretty wild, you know. But there is a way I can do it in other states, is that I would have to take the ordained paper that I have, and I would have to take it to a courthouse in either like Arkansas, Texas, Mississippi, Alabama, wherever, whatever state I wanted to. I would just have to drive or go to a courthouse in that state, give it to them, fill out a piece of paper that they give to me. They'll send it to their state capital, and then it becomes legal within like the next few weeks to a month. And I would take a copy of that home, and I also have that on my wall, which is a copy of what I filled out from the Louisiana state, from the courthouse. And, you know, it has the address, and it has your name, and the date that you filled this out. And it's supposed to be, and on there it also says, like, this person is being the head of church blank, and it gives you a blank that you're supposed to put in like a church, because most people who fill these out, they're supposed to be filling them out because they're becoming like the main pastor or preacher of a church that you are starting. And I wasn't starting a church. I just put, and I think I literally have it on there, that I'm over the Church of Louisiana. So if there is a Church of Louisiana, I'm apparently the main pastor or preacher for it, apparently. But, yeah. Excuse me. But, yeah, I had to put that down because I was like, oh, I'm not starting a church. I'm just, you know, becoming ordained so I can officiate weddings. And they were like, oh, okay. And so, I mean, those people at the courthouse, they could care less. But I filled it out, and I got a copy of it. And then, so I became an ordained minister in November 2018. And I officiated the first wedding I did for my friend in August of 2019. And then I officiated the second wedding I did was, I think, in March. Was it in March? No, it was in May. It was in May of 2020, right 2 months after the pandemic and the lockdown started. I officiated a wedding then, and it was for my cousin, because he was getting married, and they were going to go up to Arkansas and get married is what they were going to do. But then the pandemic happened, so they had to cancel all that, but they still wanted to get married on this specific day. And so we had like a small, nice wedding that was, close to this field next, like by this big tree. And they had a nice one. And then I performed it, and then I signed the papers, And that's the whole thing, is that anybody can technically perform a wedding. Like, there's no legal reason or legality thing, at least in this state. I don't know if it is anywhere else. But anybody can get up there and say stuff. They can say, do you take this woman? Do you take this man? Like, you don't have to, like, be ordained or be a preacher or whoever to actually perform the wedding. You have to be an officiant or ordained to legally sign the marriage license. That's when it becomes, the legal reason. Because nobody can just sign that and say that they were the preacher, So that's the legal reason of me being ordained, is that I can actually legally sign a marriage license and say that I was the one who performed and officiated this wedding, and basically give them, like, they have my blessing to be a married couple in this state, But so far, I have performed 2 weddings, and I have a third happening at the beginning of next year as of right now. And I will be planning what I'm going to say for that wedding. And it's always interesting to think that I can do that and have the legality and legal reasons to do that. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. And I mean, I like doing it, and it was pretty cool, So the next question we have is, what is your favorite hat? I mean, I have a couple, like, caps, and, like, I have, like, a all-black cowboy hat that I have, but I don't really wear it, like, out in public or that often. I do like cowboy hats. Cowboy hats are cool. I would like to have a top hat. If I could get, like, a Abraham Lincoln style top hat, I think that would be pretty cool to have. Those types of hats that you can put, like, 2 cans, like most people do, like, beer. But, like, if you could do, like, 2 cans, 1 can on either side of your head on that type of hat with the straw, I would like to have that for, like, Diet Coke or something, because I think that would be pretty cool. They probably sell them on Amazon, but I'd have to find a good one, But, yeah, I like a cowboy hat. Caps are good, I wore a hat for a long time in high school, and going into college, I would wear this, like, Chevy cap, and I have this other hat that I haven't worn yet. It has, like, a little American flag on it, and I like it. I just don't wear caps that often, because, like, apparently if you wear caps a lot, the back strap thing that, you can tighten up, if it, like, rubs on the back of your head, it could, like, rub the hair off and create, like, a bald spot on the back of your head, and I don't want that to happen to me. But that is a thing that could happen. It is a possibility when you wear hats too much. But yeah, I like the look of a top hat. It looks cool. Or like a fedora, like a gangster type hat, that'd be kind of cool to have. But you got to have the right outfit, But that, and then the drinking hat, that would be something that I would have, So I think with all of that, we're going to do one last question on this episode. And that is going to be this question that I'm going to say right now. That is, would you rather be 6 inches taller or 6 inches shorter? 6 inches taller or 6 inches shorter? I mean, I'm like right at 5'11", close to 6 foot. I would probably pick 6 inches taller because that would put me around like 6'5". Because if I did 6 inches shorter, I would be, what would that be, 5'5"? I don't want to be 5'5". You know, it's considered, you know, a man thing that to be taller, apparently. My fiance is short, so that she would be even shorter if I got taller, you know. But being at, like, if I said that, like, I was like, I want to be 6'5", and then I just go to sleep and I wake up the next day and I'm like well over 6 foot, almost 6.5 feet tall. That would be insane and wild and kind of awesome to be able to happen. To be able to hit a 6-inch growth spurt overnight at 23 years old would be very interesting to happen, you know. But yeah. Yeah, that's an easy answer, I think. I would definitely do the 6 inches taller. There's no doubt in my mind that I would rather be 6 inches taller than 6 inches shorter. So, yeah. But, yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you? I think everybody would pick that. I mean, unless you're, like, 7 feet tall and you would want to actually be shorter. Because I know some, you know, there's pros and cons of both. I think there's more pros to being tall. But you see more taller people have like knee problems or back problems or stuff like that, while shorter people can have those problems, but it's more prevalent in taller people, especially like basketball players, and whether they play in like the NBA or even the WNBA and stuff like that, you know, that they have like back problems and knee problems and stuff like that is always something that you always hear about, you know. But yeah, to answer your question, I would rather be 6 inches taller. And with all that being said, I want to thank everybody for their questions that they submitted. If you ever have a question, tap or click on the link down in the description. It'll take you to my YouTube channel. You can put your question in the comment section of any video that you see on my YouTube channel, as well as a food item, drink, or candy that you would like for me to review on a future episode. And I think with all that, that's going to do it for this episode. As always, please rate and subscribe. And if you're listening on YouTube, go ahead, like, comment, and subscribe, and click that bell to get notified when new videos are uploaded. And make sure you follow the Toddcast on Instagram for all your updates and Toddcast needs. Tell your friends and family to give a listen, and thank all of you once again for listening to this episode. And if you want to know what's going to happen next week, we're just going to tune in to find out. Only on the Toddcast.